Hello, and welcome to my studio here in Sheffield, and my first ever live stream, my first ever virtual market. A first of a lot of things, actually, but it's very exciting. I hope I do it right. I hope I've got the camera angles right and proper. I'm not sure, but you're going to have to bear with me as a newbie today. I'm sure you'll be kind. I'm sure you'll be good to me. So what I was going to do today was do a bit of a demonstration, a bit of my house portraits, do a tour of the studio and show you around. But that plan's gone out the window. And what I'm going to do instead is I've got a stall set up here with a selection of my products. There is much more stuff available that you can find on my Etsy shop, which you might have had a mooch on already. You might want to have a mooch afterwards, up to you. But I've got just a selection here, and I'm going to tell you the stories behind those pieces, which is actually a really nice thing to be able to do on a virtual market regularly. In an ordinary market, a physical market, you might be chatting to lots of different people at once, have lots of people at your stall, and that chance to just sort of talk about your work and the sort of stories behind it isn't always there. So this is a really nice opportunity that we've got today to just share a bit of that with you guys. I don't know why you've come to my booth today, whether it's because you're a bit curious about what the world of ghostly illustration looks like, or because, like me, you have bought a one-way ticket to Ghost Town, already obsessed with it, all about it, and have come just to see what I've got. Either one that represents you today, you are welcome to come and hear my stories and share my space with me. As you can see from my work, from this shelf of goodies, ghosts are a huge part of what I do. And I've always enjoyed them, and I've not really got a reason. I just find them fascinating. I love the ghost stories. I love ghost stories that are scary. I love ghost stories that are historical. You can learn a little bit about something. I just find it really fascinating. So I'm an illustrator, as you can see. I don't just do prints and products. I also do like mural paintings and paint sort of sculpture paintings in different cities as well. So this is just a part of what I do that I'm going to share with you today. And if you're interested to see more of my work, you can just find me on Instagram, which is this is Sian Ellis. But I'll get stuck into it and start telling you about some of the work I've got today. I'll also be online later tonight on the event, and tomorrow evening as well. The times are written in my maker's booth on the Hopping event. So if you've got any questions that you want to ask, or if there's anything you don't think I've covered today that you want to chat about, or even if you just want to say hello, come along and chat to me in the evening, and I'll be there to reply to everybody. So I'll talk about my prints first. The first one I'm going to talk about is this print here. I'm not sure if you can see it. It's Little Ghosts, an A4 print of little ghosts in a ghostly street. I should say that all my prints do come signed. For some reason today I've put out an array of prints. None of them are signed, but I do sign them when I send them out. So this illustration was originally made because I connected with an account on Instagram, a lovely lady, of a writer called Marie McWilliams, who writes horror stories and ghost stories, which are amazing. I recommend you to check out. Her Instagram is @bookishmarie if you want to go and have a look at her stories, but you can also find her connected on my page through when we've worked together. So she collaborates with illustrators, and what she does is she connects with an illustrator, she looks at their work, and then she writes a short story inspired by the artist and their work. And in turn, the artist takes the short story that Marie's written and illustrates it, creates an illustration for it. So that's how this picture was born. So Marie had a look at my work, saw that it's full of ghosts. Obviously, the story had to be full of ghosts, but it's also got a bit of humour to it. It's a bit sort of silly, and there's a lot of the times there's ghosts in sort of everyday situations, like shopping or gardening or down the street. There's all these very sort of normal things. So she created this story of a haunted street and these four ghosts that live along the street, and how they got on with each other and what they do in their houses, and the time that has passed between each one. There might be one from the caveman times, might be one from the 90s, and they're relationships together, all hanging around regular folk watching the telly, which I thought was a brilliant story. So this picture came out of that collaboration. And for the inspiration for the street, I actually took my own street as inspiration. So not many people know who own this print that one of these houses, in fact it's this house, is modelled on my own house, my own little Sheffield terrace. So that's the story behind that one. And that print is, it was drawn digitally, and it was always a digital print, because I do a mix of pen drawing. So I've got my little ghost pot full of fine liner pens up here. I do a mix of that and digital prints as well. So that one was just an entirely digital print. The next print I'm going to talk about is this one, which is a new print, which is my Ghostly Gardener print. And this originally started life as a sketch for a drawing challenge on Instagram. So obviously there's loads of different drawing challenges on Instagram, and if you just search hashtag drawing challenge, loads will come up. But luckily for me, there are loads of very specifically spooky themed ones. And I love them, and I try to get involved in as many as I can, because it's a really good way for me not just to connect with other artists with very similar interests to me, which obviously is always a huge benefit and a huge plus, but it's also about being able to be inspired by a prompt word that comes out and just create new work. And it's like an exercise as an artist to try something new, to create work you might not have think of, to think creatively and in a way that you might not have done. So I'm a huge advocate, a big fan of drawing challenges. So this started as that. I think the drawing challenge was the Haunted Garden Art Challenge, run by Grace Moth, I believe, who is another UK-based artist who does a lot of spooky alternative sort of art. And I think the prompt was plant or flower or something. And I came up with this story about this guy, which is this little guy at the top. He was also kind of connected to an older story from an older drawing challenge. So Mab's Drawloween Club last year, which is the biggest alternative drawing challenge that there is, which happens every October, run by Mab Graves. She did a challenge and there was a prompt, and I did a story about a guy who became a ghost from eating a poisoned berry. And it was all a bit funny, it was all a bit silly. So it's this idea about people engaging with nature in the wrong way and becoming ghosts because of it. So this is the second of those stories. And this is our ghostly gardener here, owns a flower shop, accidentally touched some devil's nightshade, which is what we've got in the corner, because he hadn't labelled it properly, didn't realise what it was, met his demise, and now has become a responsible flower shop owner in the afterlife. He's labelled it properly, we can see it's dangerous, and he's collecting supernatural plants, creepy plants, spooky plants. And we've got general sort of haunted themed plants, and then we've got some that you might recognise. We've got a mandrake, which is obviously like a folk tale, the idea that mandrakes, because the shape of the root is that they look like babies, so there's this folk lore around them that's what they are, and that they've got magical properties. But it's more commonly known from Harry Potter, because obviously it's the scene with the mandrakes and they all unpop them and they scream and squeal or whatever. So we've got a mandrake, and then we've got obviously Orgy 2, Little Shop of Horrors. How can you have a spooky plant theme print and not have an Orgy 2? I don't know. So this is the story of the little ghostly gardener, and I've really enjoyed working on this to the point where the cogs are already turning about similar sort of drawings that I want to work on, similar sort of pieces that I want to work on, that I am going to carve time out especially to create. So that should be really nice. Another print that I've got that is inspired, this is also inspired by a drawing challenge, but rather than one on Instagram that is sort of participated by loads of people, it's a personal one that I set for myself. And that was to draw 100 ghost-themed postcards, which I have cleverly shortened to ghost cards, and just draw 100 different characters. And the idea was that I'd think of more about who who are my ghosts? What are their stories? What are they about? And ways to make it funny. I like to do stuff that's funny. I like to draw stuff that's current. So it was like an exercise for me in sort of like building on those characters and just doing more with my ghosts a little bit more. So here's one example of a ghost card. So the challenge was to draw 100 of these little A6 size hand-drawn postcards. Did I draw 100? No, I did not. I think I'm up to about 85, maybe around 85, something like that. So I've done a fair few. I've done a good chunk of them. But for a portion of the ghost cards, I decided to do ghosts in costume and think about what sort of costumes could you wear on Halloween to a Halloween party if you were a ghost. And it was totally silly, and it was always supposed to be totally silly. So I think there was one. Some of them were puns, so there was like a flamingo ghost dressed as a flamingo. There was one that was like dressed as a cliche 90s movie ghost. So the ghost had like a sheet on, and you could see the label with like flowers on it and big eye holes cut out. And then there was one that was just dressed as a normal boy. I think one was dressed as a fart. It was all very highbrow and very serious art. But through drawing these ghosts in costume, I thought, obviously now I have to draw a little costume shop for ghosts. And that's what this is. And I loved drawing this one. It was just such a happy and nice piece to draw. And I loved it, and it was really well received as well. So who knows, maybe a whole high street of ghost themed shops is on the cards. I don't know. But what was nice about this one was I got to combine doing ghosts, which I obviously love, and buildings, because I do a lot of architectural sort of prints. And what you'll find on my online shop as well is there are a lot of not ghost themed prints. Bum, bum, bum. There's a lot of very sensible and normal and ordinary prints of landmarks in Sheffield, which I also love to draw. I also love to do. It's just something about architecture. I don't know, I really like it. I find it really enjoyable to spot all the different textures and the details. So I've got like Rare and Racy, Yellow Arch, Woollerton Hall in Nottingham. I've got a few different buildings that are on there. So this was a good way to combine that. Again, as I do with my house portraits and haunted house portraits, which I'll talk to you a little bit more about in a minute. So that's that one. The next one I will show is another new print that's only come out this week, and this is the Shambles in York. I don't know if you can see that. This is one of my most detailed prints that I've done, and it was based on a drawing I did. So this is a pen drawing originally. It's drawn a pen drawing I did as a gift for my mum. I don't know if you're watching, Mum. If you are, hello. So this was a picture I did for my mum for a gift, because we've spent lots of family holidays in York together. So she has the original ghostless version up in her house. So this is one of 3 versions of that print. I have a black and white print without the ghosts. I have a colour version of this, so the hand-drawn picture, which was then coloured digitally, which is a technique that I adopt a lot if I had colour into my work. And then this is a new one with the ghosts on, because how could you not? It's an amazing city. I love it. The Shambles is beautiful. It's a beautiful place. I go as often as I can. Lucky being in Sheffield that it's a 45-minute train journey away. And obviously it's one of the most haunted, allegedly haunted places in the UK. So adding the little ghosts on was a no-brainer. So yeah, that's part of a series of prints. Then we've got I think this is my most, the Maybe I Don't Believe in You Either crying ghost, or as I call it, skeptical ghost. And the idea for this, I think, is quite simple, but sometimes people ask me to explain it to them. It's just that people talk about whether or not they believe in ghosts and never think about if that hurts ghosts' feelings. It's sad, really. I'm not trying to make anyone sad. I thought it was funny. I could make people laugh. But this started life as a ghost card. As I showed about before, one of these A6 size postcards, which quickly got snapped up by someone. And since then, it's become a print. It's been on patches for like jackets and bags. And it became, an enamel pin. So it's the only enamel pin I've made to date, but I would love to make more because I really enjoyed it. I've got some here. I can see if I can show it you, but obviously all this stuff is on my Etsy shop for you to get a proper look at it, because obviously a webcam's not the best way to look at things. So this is the first enamel pin I've made. I would love to make more. I'm hoping to design some more. And it's the first Kickstarter campaign that I launched. So I launched a Kickstarter campaign to fund it. The idea being that I'd offer the pin as a reward, some stickers, some badges and exclusive sort of goodies, depending on what level people pledged at and how much they wanted to donate towards the campaign. And happily for me, it's my first Kickstarter campaign. It's my only Kickstarter campaign to date. I think it took like triple what the target was, which meant that I could get loads of these badge made, get them shipped out. And yeah, it was absolutely brilliant. And I actually, so yeah, we made more than we thought it did. And then within about a week of me putting the pins onto general sale, I was approached by a subscription box for enamel pins in America. For a large order to be sent out internationally to all their subscribers of enamel pins. And what that meant is I had the pins about 2 weeks and then had to put another order in again, which is the dream, really. It's the dream to be able to do that. The pins are black nickel plated with white enamel with glow-in-the-dark enamel on top. So obviously we're not in the best environment for me to show you the glow-in-the-dark at the moment, but it does glow. And when they came in the post, like a big kid, the first thing I did was wrap my hands around it to try and see it glow, and was very excited when it did as well. If you've got one of these pins as well, you'll notice that there's a little message at the bottom. There's a little cat ghost that says, "Hello, Jason Isaacs, and thank you, Freya." And that's because one of the tiers on my Kickstarter reward, and some of you might have wondered this, one of the tiers on my Kickstarter reward was that one person would get the chance to personalise something on this packet. And the idea was that there'd be a little ghost, and I was like, he will say your name, he will thank you on the packet if you pledge to this reward. And the very kind lady who pledged to it said, I wanted to say hello, Jason Isaacs, which I now understand is from a podcast. I can't tell you the whole story. I can't say I remember all of it, but I understand that it's a phrase from a podcast that I don't listen to. I should listen to it, because Freya's a very good recommender of podcasts. And then I added a little thank you for her as well, because I couldn't let it slide that she was not supporter. So if you've got one of these pins and ever wondered the story behind the odd packaging, that is what it is. So the next print we'll go on to is one of the colour ones. Now you might have noticed there's not that many colour prints in my stall. And I think it's because the black and white ones tend to just sort of pop, and people love them, and people are all about black and white prints sometimes, but every now and again there's a concept, there's an idea, there's a picture that I think will look really good in colour. And this one, you might have spotted, is based on this print, so you have got the option to get it in black and white. Obviously there's some differences, but it's based on this illustration from the Marie McWilliams collaboration. And I wanted something that just acknowledged that certified spooky all year long. It's not just for Halloween. What I make is not just for Halloween. People that love this stuff don't just love it on Halloween. So this is a bit of a cheeky nod to that. It's obviously got a lot more embellishments on it and around the edges, like these leaves and the sky, than what was on the original print. And it was just a good way for me to sort of experiment and play with colour a little bit more. So again, this was one that was digitally coloured, but this black and white, as I said before, was a digital piece originally anyway. But yeah, it was really fun to sort of experiment with taking something black and white and mending it and making it into sort of a colour piece, as I've done here. I've also got my little ask about my spooky portraits sign. You probably can't see it. So I have this out at markets to tell people to just ask me about my spooky portraits at market. And today he is guarded by one of my unfinished clay ghosts. I also work in ceramics and have just been able to start going back to the ceramics studio since lockdown, which has been really exciting. but I've been busy sculpting throughout lockdown, so that means that I've got a round of ceramic products that are in process at the moment, and I can't wait to share them with everybody when they come out. I can show you one here, because I have got on my ghost shelf, I think I've got one, actually no, I've got a couple that are made by me. So I just make like little cute ceramic ghosts. And this one, they've all got different things. So he's got Boo and his bum. Some of them have little bums because I'm very mature. I've got some new glazes in lockdown as well, so I'm really excited to test those out, see how they work, and then be able to show my ceramics to you at a later date. But yeah, I have my Ask About Spooky Portraits sign. I haven't got any spooky portraits to show you because originally I thought, oh, I'll do a demonstration, I'll show you, which has just been harder to film on a laptop anyway. But also I sort of realised, well, they're all hand-drawn original pieces of art. I draw it and then I send it out. And if I have a portrait here, it's because it's not finished yet and the person it's commissioned for hasn't seen it. So I wouldn't want to share that so publicly when it's been commissioned by someone who hasn't had the work themselves yet. So what I can do instead is, hopefully you can see it, show you some examples. Show you some examples on my iPad screen here of recent portraits. So this is one that I did for a very lovely lady in America. This is one from the UK. So all I do with them, they're, as I said, they're hand-drawn. So these are photos that I've taken of the the drawings, as like records for me to keep, for examples. And so that can add them as examples on my Etsy page, which again is a really good place if you want to look at more examples of my house portraits, my haunted house portraits. Take a look on my Etsy shop and you'll see them all there. So there's some examples of them. I do regular house portraits as well. So if you're not really into ghosts, but you like my style of how I draw in, then I draw just regular house portraits for people. I do black and white hand drawn, or I do colours where I hand draw it originally and then I digitally colour it. But the haunted house portraits, the way that they work is, as with a regular portrait, I ask the commissioner to send me photos of their house, to draw it, but with an added conversation where I say, what is the story of your house? What is it that you want to see in your house? If you want a haunted house portrait, is there a specific monster that you like? Is there a specific film that you like that you want incorporated? Is there a ghost story in your house that you want me to include? And not just houses either. I've done bars and pubs and venues. Like, I'll do commercial properties for people if that's what they want, and if there's a story, I will work that in. Or I'll say, or do you want me to just look at pictures of your house, get inspired by it, and haunt it as I see fit? And people let me know either way. They might say, I want you to do what you want, but please make sure there's pumpkins or bats as well. And sometimes I'll be really specific. I want this here, I want this there. And then I just take the ideas, I take the feedback, I take the photos of the house and I work on it and I come up with something like what I've just showed you there, which I don't know if people get them for gifts more than they buy them for themselves. It's a good question that nobody asked except myself. I think it's maybe about 50-50, so it's the sort of thing that people like to buy for themselves, but it's also a really nice moving in present, a really good like birthday present. I did one recently for a lovely family in the US, and instead of me coming up with ghosts for their house, they sent me photos of their father's amazing haunted house that he sets up every year, which is absolutely incredible, with animatronic decorations everywhere and giant skeletons and a huge pumpkin display. It was amazing. And I just drew it as it was, so that when it's not Halloween and when he decides to stop doing his displays on a Halloween, they've still got this record, they've still got this gift. So that's my haunted house portraits. As I've said, there's details on my Etsy shop, but if you have got any questions, and if you've got questions about anything in general, really, if you pop them in the chat, in the booth that we've got going on the hopping event, I can't see it at the moment while I'm filming, I'm afraid, but if you pop it in there after this, I will immediately go on and I will chat on there and I will answer any questions that you've got. So please do feel free to drop me a message or ask me a question on there now, and when I finish here, I'll go on it and chat. So that's the story of all the prints. I've also got a couple of more things here to show you. So one thing that I started doing new this year was bookmarks, and they have done really well. So we've got our little ghosty I Love Spooky Stories bookmark. I did have 2 designs, but the other design is completely sold out at the moment, and I've only got a handful of these ones left. But I am planning on restocking the designs that I've got existing and a new design as well, which we shall say no more about until it's released. But they've been a lot of fun, and they're the sort of product as well. I mean, with everything I've got, I create stuff because I want it to exist, because I want it for me, and it doesn't. So I create things that I enjoy, with the hope that that means someone else must like it as well. And bookmarks are one of them. So during lockdown, I started reading massively, almost exclusively, ghost stories and horror fiction. You'll be surprised to hear. But I created these bookmarks and then snaffled a load for myself. So they're all sat in books at home. Again, if you've got any recommendations for ghost stories or horror books, please put them in the chat, because there are never enough recommendations for these kind of books, and I always want to hear about it. But one story about these bookmarks as well, which is really exciting, is that they this design also got included in the August, so this month's Abominable Book Club subscription box. So if you are familiar with them, well, if you're not familiar with them, I should say, they are a book club based in the UK, and you sign up to them, and what you get a month is there's a book by an independent author, which they send to everybody who's in the book club, and then they also send everybody a random secondhand vintage horror fiction book find, which is amazing. And then they have additional goodies in the book subscriptions as well. So this month it included the Spooky Stories bookmark by myself, so that's something that people who got this month's box have got, which is a really nice thing for me to work on as well. And it's a nice thing about doing book themed products, that you get to work with people who love these sorts of books as well. And on that note, earrings is another thing that I've been doing this year that I didn't used to do. And I don't know if you can see, I've got some in today. I've got some of my little Ouija earrings in today. So they are just sterling silver fish hooks, and the charms on them are all based on illustrations that I've created, and they are printed onto responsibly sourced plywood charms that are 1 inch high. So I love big earrings, right? I love big earrings. I have no interest in little studs. I will never wear them. Big earrings, love them. These are like not too big, which is good, because I've got some which are massive, and when it's windy they pull, like they get a bit heavy. These are super, super lightweight to wear. And I do, as you can see, I do wear them all the time. It's this thing I'm saying, I make stuff because I want it. I make things because I want these things to exist, and I can never have too many earrings. So you probably can't see these here, but you'll be able to look better on the shop. These are my ghost stories. They're like tiny little books. I don't know how good the camera is, but they're like tiny little books. And even though I'm wearing my little Ouija planchettes today, I think these are my favourite ones. And it's because they're tiny little books, and they've got ghosts and the ghost stories. I know it's my own work, I will say that, but I do love these ones. And then here is a better look at my Ouija ones that I've got in today, which, yeah, these sell quite well. Again, everything you can have a better look at on my Etsy page. I've got some little crystal balls. So these ones have got like a really nice blue colour to them, quite similar to the wall actually, it looks on this. No, they're a bit lighter than the wall, I think. And then the first ones I did, these super cute little ghosts. So as I said, they're plywood charms. They're really lightweight to wear, and yeah, sterling silver hoops, fish hooks. So hopefully they won't irritate anybody. So they're the earrings that we've got. I have got some more that I'm in the design stage of at the moment, and I have got some more that are ready to launch, but they are Halloween themed, so I'm holding on a little bit longer before I put that pair out, but it's just one extra pair anyway. Some of those earrings are very, very low. I think the crystal balls, there's maybe only 1 pair left, maybe 2. some of the stuff in my shop is quite low at the moment, some of my prints. So if you have got an eye on anything, you should be able to see what the quantities are in there. So I just wouldn't hold your breath too long for some of it before them going. I think that's everything that I've got out today. Obviously, as I've said, this isn't all the prints I've got. It's not all the products I've got. And as I mentioned before, I do things like back patches, sew-on patches, which I've not sort of included in my little stall set up today, with the limited space I've got available. But please do, have a look on my shop. There's a special code today, which if you are in the event, if you just look on my board, you'll see it, and that gets you 10% off in my shop. And it's only valid today and tomorrow. So if you want the discount, today and tomorrow is the time to have a look. As I've said, please feel free to ask me any questions, like drop them down on the board. I'm going to come off air, I'm going to go on right now and chat to people. And I'll be on again tonight and tomorrow. Tonight, I think I'm on tonight from 6 and tomorrow from 8. So I'm there for an hour. I'll probably have a glass of wine, come and sit down with the computer and have a chat with you guys. I think that's everything really. What I am going to do as well, I'll just pop this in, is at 2 o'clock, so in half an hour, I'm going to do the studio tour I talked about. So I'm going to be able to film it on my mobile because I'm going to do it on Instagram Live. So if you want to have a look around my studio, obviously you've seen a little tiny bit of it today, then my Instagram handle is at this is Sian Ellis, exactly as it's spelled within the maker booth. But if you want to pop over there and have a look, I'm going to do a little tour in the studio in half an hour as well. Thank you so much for coming and listening. I'm assuming you've all stuck it out this long and are still with me. But it's been really lovely to be able to tell these stories to you guys, because I don't actually tell them that often. And as I've said before, market days traditionally are really hectic and manic, and the chance to just sit down and talk through like what inspires me and the inspiration, the stories behind this stuff. I hope it's been interesting. I hope that it's maybe brought a little bit of insight into when you do go to a market, that prints do have stories behind them, and they're not just that someone sat down and put something on paper and sent it out. Everything's got a sort of story, and I think all artists are happy to sit down and chat and answer questions that people have got about their work or their process or whatever you're interested in. So I hope it's been interesting for you guys. And hopefully this is the first of many live streams and chances to get to talk to you in this way while we've not got sort of physical markets. But yeah, thank you, and enjoy the rest of your sunny Saturday. I hope you've had the chance to look at the other maker stalls as well. There's lots of amazing stuff there, I am sure. And I'm going to go shopping myself. All right, thank you very much. See you later. Bye.